Okay, so just getting underway into Monday's Asia session. Asia sessions, I mean, they're always generally pretty quiet, and specifically for the metals, like you never really see a great deal of movement generally. I mean, obviously you get the outliers every now and then, but as I've said a couple of times, I give it about a $5 range in Asia, and yeah, we'll sort of see how this moves from there. But as of recording this at the moment, we haven't seen any sort of progression with the immediate movements with sort of Israel sort of about to sort of amassing troops on the border in Gaza and sort of storming in there. There's no sort of set reason as to why they're sort of delayed. They're expected to make a move at break of day yesterday, Israel time, which I think they're in the middle of the night now. But yeah, obviously that hasn't happened yet. And as I sort of said on the weekend review for the week, that's when I was expecting if we didn't see that eventuate and push on further, that we would see some early profit taking on metals and slight reversals of Friday's moves, which we're seeing now at the moment. So this is on the daily again with gold. So I mean, look, it's very much still on the front foot, and that it's not like okay, the situation's still there. It's just that I think a lot of this big massive move up here, because you got to look. I mean, look at the size of this daily candle compared to anything in recent times. I mean, what do we move exactly there on that? I mean, that's a straight candle, barely a bottom wick on it. Um, $63 move. You know what I mean? It's no doubt that people are going to be sort of going, okay, let's book some profit. Just from the fact that that moved so hard. As I said, even I took out my the last of my sort of gold positions and price targets got hit. Admittedly, it left a little bit on the table, but you know what? That's life. Certainly, sort of, we're seeing a little bit of a drop off on the morning. Um, Nothing substantial. Like this is still healthy profit taking. And again, if we slip onto these here, it's obviously this is the close here on 32. So we had the open at 27, attempt of a push up, and that sort of somewhat close any kind of gap that would have been left up around this area here. But really, still, I'm looking for a deeper sort of pullback. There's a couple of factors depending on which chart was sticking on here. I'll be looking for sort of obviously sort of this is a pre-marked out area, top side of this channel around this zone here. If you were to be sort of trying to get long, so where are we at here? See, this is still, it's just a bit of a sort of light, shallow pullback in that. So 23 we saw was respected on the smaller scale down here last week. But really, if I could get it around sort of 1900 and change, I'd like to sort of get some positions back long there, certainly. I think there's definitely some more upside to come with gold, but I think it's everybody or the market, at least as a whole, is sort of waiting to see what the next step is, who's getting involved, what's happening, at what level. I think there's so many different little factors playing into it, but I think definitely risk is on the back foot at the moment. But yeah, some healthy profit taking, that's fine. That'll give us some better levels that we can sort of try and get long from. You know, I mean, whether that's sort of coming into the US session or even maybe Tuesday, Wednesday this week. I haven't really looked so much of what data we've got that may be affecting it coming out, but certainly, yeah, a little bit of a cool off on that on the open. But as I said on the weekend, sort of wrap up review, that's pretty much as expected. So yeah, we'll sort of have to sort of see how this sort of progress. But for now, it's reasonably holding this sort of 20s level. We flip across DXY. So DXY, as I said, had a little bit of a gap down on the open. If we have a look at this on the sort of lower time frames, we might be able to see it a little bit better. Yep. So again, sort of you know, without sort of any sort of progression, people are sort of thinking, okay, you know, oh, do we want to sort of still be sort of so heavily risk off at this time, and particularly because you know at the moment there is the potential for this sort of head and shoulder pattern to be forming with the US dollar. You know, again, it's on 13, 14 weeks of more or less up. I mean, if we have a look at last week, I think we sort of popped back into quite a sort of positive close for it all. But the fact that we're getting these kind of moves up around here is showing that there are potentials for sort of at least a medium term high here. But again, on as I marked out yesterday, we've got a pretty clear defined sort of range that we'd be looking to break. And I think this is probably a little bit of a better indicator than the head and shoulders. Head and shoulders obviously comes in line with what would be the neckline, which gives us our price targets down around the 104. So a significant sort of little pullback and drop off in that with the US dollar if it can get back down to these levels and of course close under, sort of break through and then close under to confirm. So, it's not about to happen straight away, but yeah, I think the market's still, it's Asia. It's always a little bit quiet on the Mondays. You've got the bulk of the market that actually have the money to move things. They're still asleep. I know they're always sort of active in that, but certainly they're not large sort of participants in that in Asia session, particularly on the Monday mornings for us on local time. So just from a technical standpoint, we got a little bit of a gap down. DXY does tend to like to follow its gaps. So it pushed back up, tried to close that pretty early. So I reckon we could see potentially a little bit more of a cooling off on DXY to get down underneath this sort of what was now, so I guess, falling support, as it was a sort of bit of a falling resistance there. If we can break down under this zone here and take out these wicks, not on there. There we go. I would say if we can get back down under there, we could sort of certainly see a little bit more of a cooling off and a potential run back down to at least sort of take out this move, which was the CPI move, which again, it came in at equal to what was last month and also only a point of a percent higher, which is obviously above what the expectations were, but it wasn't drastic. It wasn't sort of like okay, this needs rectifying, this needs action straight away. So I think sort of it's certainly if we can sort of take out this wick here at 106.28, I would sort of say there's a good chance that we could be revisiting these lows, and then of course that's a big test as to what sort of happens down here. You may sort of see this sort of head and shoulders start to play out. You may see it just sort of pick back up again and sort of range back along. Because realistically, although it is at the end of, well, not the end, but it's well into some serious gains with the US dollar, on a fundamental level with the war going on, that always supports US dollar strength and risk off, basically. So I don't think sort of like till this whole situation is fully rectified are we going to see any sort of significant breakdowns. But certainly there's no reason why we can't revisit these lows. And even just, again, from the technical sort of point, just to sort of snap out anybody that did get in these visas, even if it's in a range, there's opportunities and people can trade the range. And, if we're not going higher, well, there's only really one direction for us, and that's at least to sort of not necessarily go drastically lower, but in a short term, the early parts of this week, we could certainly see a revisit of this neckline and these lows here. Then we'll sort of, again, we've got to sort of play, what are we going to get? Are we going to get a range play? Are we going to get a breakdown? Most likely I'm leaning towards a bit more of a range play and just sort of bouncing back within this zone, 106.80 to 105.60, these kind of zones. Cool. Okay, flip across to Aussie. At the immediate, it's trying to sort of not fall completely apart. Small little gap up here on the morning. We've seen some, as I said, I'm not a big fan of this one here. We've only got really the two. I suppose you've got three connections here and a breakthrough there. But for me, really, the lines that we want to sort of beat, obviously this first one here, which we can see were they were the NFP lows. So we're finding a little bit of resistance still at this level, so early 6300s. But for me to sort of, at least in the short term, negate this move, I want to get above these wicks that we saw on Friday, because we had 3 attempts to get up here. And, although marginally, you can see that these ones are still only just coming in a little bit lower each time. So, there was the call where technically you're getting lower lows and lower highs after this big drop down, and you saw how the week ended, so that sort of died down there. So really, as I see, I've got the alert set up here. We need to take out those wicks from Friday to sort of say, okay, maybe we're not completely breaking down as of yet, but certainly very, very vulnerable. Underneath 62.80, I think that's pretty much short term. Good night, and probably 6200 is a fair level for this to be sort of get a touch up from. So let's see, if we've got a little bit of a higher sort of side of the buying coming in here. So again, it's not a sort of super strong move, but we are seeing a little bit of this negative divergence here from these lows. These are the Friday close lows. So yeah, we're seeing a little bit of a push up early, a little bit of a negative divergence there. This is on the 1 hour, so of course, yeah, 1 hours aren't super strong, but I think sort of like realistically, it's just going to be this back and forth and that till we can get above sort of 63, call it 63.40 to be sort of a little bit stronger. But then you've got lows down here to sort of contend with. So I think there's not really going to be expecting too much from Aussie. And again, while this whole sort of situation's going on with the Middle East, that's not conducive for, hey, let's buy risk. So yeah, it's not looking great. I haven't got the Nikkei chart here, but I got some alerts earlier, down 1.5%. So certainly market seems to be sort of shoring up a little bit of their long positions in equities. And again, that's just going to flow through to Aussie. If we flip over to China, there's not really much to report. We're seeing a bit of a push up. This is, what are we on here? The 1 hour chart. So coming into the close, I mean, it's moving up here, but still, if we zoom out with this one, this is really, again, it's the risk barometer for what we're doing. And we're just seeing this incredible grind over the sides here. We've got the PBOC sort of jumped in and sort of obviously sold off a whole heap of US dollar, sort of which drove it down from this top end here. So again, you got to be wary if you're trying to buy this to get through this zone. If they can break through here, okay, then you got some nice sort of little targets above here. But again, this rising resistance that could also offer another sort of, the next sort of medium term target. If you're looking for sort of longs on this thing, and it's a bit more of just a risk off. But yeah, certainly I think for the time being, it's just nothing super to report. I'm still looking for downside moves, but till we can get down under this support zone, it's not really anything to sort of make any sort of moves on or act on at the moment. And finally, just with copper. Copper again, it's trying to hold this area here because it knows that as it gets down under sort of 355 and change, 340 seems like the next sort of stop for it. You can't really say this is on a daily and it's just grinding. It's so far managed to sort of hold this zone coming into the end of last week, and we're seeing a very, very sort of slight. If we put this on to, no, so the daily sort of shows it a bit here. Very slight sort of buying pressure coming in a little bit higher. So you've got these lows here. You've got these previous lows, or wherever you want to call these lows or these lows. So it's moving down here with the pressure. We've got the buying sort of coming in. Not enough for me to sort of say, hey, look, this is a great positive divergence. I mean, technically, yes, it does fit the criteria, but you want to see something where the buying's pushing up a little bit more like this, where it's significantly not letting it get down, but it's coming down further with price. As of now, it is, like, as I said, it's technically, yes, it is coming in a little bit higher, and as of we can see right now, it's even actually sort of pushing up a little bit more, but it hasn't done anything significant at this stage. So at best case scenario, we're going to be ranging between 370 and 357-ish, sort of this area here. A break above here might look a little bit positive. That's going to help Aussie, these kind of things. But, this is all predicated on, obviously, so many different factors. We've got a bunch of China data coming out this week, which might sort of push things in one solid direction or another. But for the time being, it's not really doing a great deal. On the 4 hour, you can see it trying to sort of hold this somewhat of a little channel. So you may sort of see some little upside here, but as it sort of grinds, it's sort of way back down towards this main support area. And certainly if we can get above these areas here, there's a good chance, but there's a lot of overhead resistance and a lot of tough stuff to get through for it to sort of see any significant gains to the top side. So I think risk is certainly still in danger with this sort of stuff. And as we sort of almost finish up, we're seeing gold break a little bit lower. So yeah, if we can flip down onto this here, so it's trying. You can see here. I mean, it's come down early on the thing. It's trying to hold it, but it's just not so far being able to. So certainly start wanting to sort of get long on the get long on gold again, but I reckon I can get it at a better level. Cool. All right, that's about it from me. Just a quick one to start the week off.